Hi everyone, let's experiment today a little bit. It's Asia Marquet here, Lemon Creation, and I am using one of my favorite techniques for watercolors this time. First time ever. So let me start with a disclaimer. It's not my technique. I didn't invent it. Probably a lot of people are doing it on the internet, but maybe somebody who watch my channel, my videos, doesn't know about it. So that's what I'm doing it. And honestly, it's the first time ever I'm trying it on watercolors. So basically, I am using watercolor paper, and as for my watercolors technique, like it's gonna be an abstract one, so I am just spraying water onto the page to make an abstract shape. Last time when I was trying to do it, I was getting a kind of a dog, which you've noticed as well. This time, thankfully, there was no animal. It's not because I don't like my animals. I love animals. I just, when I do abstract, I want to do abstract. And when I try to actually make something which resembles an animal or whichever other shape, it's never working. So that's why it's a little bit stressful, when you don't want it and it happens, and when you want it, it doesn't. But coming back to the page, I am using Masha's watercolors. Those are watercolors which you can find on Etsy. I'm gonna give you a link in the description box below. It's the same watercolors which I used in the previous video. Not the same colors though, but the same watercolors. I love them because, it's enough that you use one color and you get like this beautiful granulated effect, and it looks so nice. So basically they are interacting with water a lot more than the normal watercolors, and there are different pigments, I think it's called inside, and when dry you can see different colors. So this is super cool. And for those of you who know, for example, Magicals from Lindy's gang, that's completely different story. They are not watercolors magicals, although they behave a lot like watercolors also, but that's the whole whole purpose. I don't know if purpose is a good word, but they are very similar to these granulated watercolors. So a lot of magicals have those different pigments in them. So you can see already how do they react with water. In some places there is a lot of water, in others there is less water. Sorry, I don't know why is it jumping here my screen. It's gonna stop. And when there is just a little bit of water, the color stays kind of the same. When there is more, this color reacts with water. It really depends on the paper, on the water, on how much pigment or how much watercolor you put on the page. But it's so beautiful. I really love those paints. And once again, there is a surprise always with them. So I'm not sure if they are perfect for, drawing, I don't know, something very realistic when you want to use the proper colors. But for abstract, they work just beautifully. And look at that, guys, with just one color, I created that. It's super cute. And it looks even better in real life, there is this texture almost, you can almost touch it. You feel like you can touch it even though you cannot. So basically that's what I do. And last time, the last watercolor technique I've done, it was the stamping with watercolors. Today I'm gonna be doing stenciling, and I know already from your comments that you are using stenciling with watercolors. I think I got 2 comments when you said that you are using the stencils. This time I'm using different paint. It's kind of a dark blue, and I am using just a tiny bit of paint. I'm checking now where I'm gonna use my stenciling or my stencil, and I'm gonna be doing negative stenciling. So basically what I'm doing, I didn't want to put the stencil on and then try to transfer the paint through the shapes, like cut through the cut shapes, but I'd rather wanted to make negative stenciling. So basically I am painting the stencil. The trick to that is that you do not add a lot of water. You just add a tiny bit of water, which is not super cool because I don't have too much of these Masha watercolors. So, you have to use a tiny bit more of the watercolor than you would use normally, but I really wanted to see the effect. And you don't have to believe me, but this is really the first time I'm doing it and doing straight on the camera. I just said to myself that if it doesn't work, I'm gonna make another film. But it actually did work to perfection. I absolutely love it. And I think I'm gonna be doing a lot of that, like stenciling, negative stenciling, and stamping. To be honest, I am afraid to do a normal stenciling because I think the watercolors will run under the stencil. So I don't know how to do it, maybe with a sponge, but guys, look at that. This is amazing. I'm not sure if the geometrical shapes, the squares, go well with this kind of a stain, but well, I decided I'm gonna go for it. It's already dry. The paint is already dry, so I was trying to clean it with a tissue which wasn't wet, so it didn't come off. But because it's watercolor, I know that it will come off eventually with water. So I just added another parts, or I just color another parts of the stencil, and I was not even that worried that I'm gonna get a transfer from the first part because, as I said, they were already dry, but I still kind of kept it, you know, like raised the part which was painted at the very beginning, because I didn't want that by accident I'm gonna make some transfer. And that's why this square didn't work properly also, because I didn't push the stencil, I think, all the way to the paper. I'm not sure if this technique will work with all the stencils, and I'm not sure if this technique will work with all the watercolor papers. I think that's the most important thing, I think, the watercolor paper, because if it's very grainy, it may not work. I'm not sure how it will behave also on the cotton paper, because I find it, at least the one I have, and I have just one, but I find that it's quite grainy and kind of not very smooth to the touch, so I'm not sure. And I prefer to use it to do this technique with darker paints. The same for the stenciling on watercolors. I prefer to do it with darker paints because I think the effect is more striking, more visible. And but look at that, guys. I absolutely love it. It's really cool. And with this stencil, I already did a negative stenciling, but with the normal paints, I'm not sure if it wasn't even with the distress oxides, and it worked also very nice. This stencil is especially cool for this technique, but here it looked or it worked really well as well. And this is also the very first time I'm trying my new Artistro white pens. Because I was having problem with my white pens. You heard about it in one of my previous videos. I was complaining that they do not work very well. They don't want to write on the watercolor, because watercolor usually has this kind of, well, not all of the watercolors, but like chalky finish, or maybe, I don't know, at least the ones I've been using with the pen, and the pens weren't cooperative at all. So I was advised to either try PBO or Artistro, and I actually went for those pens, and for now I'm very happy, even though I have to shake them, and I absolutely don't like the pens which I have to shake before use, but PBO is the same, so I said I'm gonna try and go for this one because they are actually cheaper. Already that, you know, counts a lot. I got, I think, a set of 6 pens. And I'm gonna give you a link to the products I use in the description box below. So guys, basically that's it. I was thinking if I should put some sentiment, but I actually find for my abstract watercolor pages, I do not want to add any sentiments. I want them to be abstract. And the only sad sentiment I have towards that is that I didn't do it on the big piece of paper, like 4 times A4, for example, because that would look so beautifully. Well, my stencil would be too small to use it, but otherwise it would look so beautifully. So this is my only regret, you know, when I'm doing the abstract color pages. There are some of them which I would like to have, you know, big ones and just frame it even, because I like some of them really, a lot. Not all, some. So guys, I'm gonna leave you with that. I am wondering what you're gonna think about this video. As always, thank you so much for subscribing, hitting the notification bell button, sharing this video with your friends, and of course there is a link to my shop if you want to check my stencils, my stamps, my words and other things. I would be very happy. I wish you a beautiful day, a lot of crafty ideas, and I'm gonna see you in my next video, I hope. Bye bye.